Five, four, three, two, one. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the third edition of Run That Back. Today we have some special guests. I mean, absolutely special guests. Today I have with me Shamiqua Holesclaw. I have with me Tamika Dixon, and I also have Penny Toller. So it's kind of like we're doing the whole East Coast wave right now. I'm on the show Shamiqua Holesclaw, former WNBA great. She's an author and mental health advocate out of Queens, New York. She's a three-time NCAA champion, Kodak All-American, all-time scorer and rebounder for the University of Tennessee, a women's basketball Hall of Famer inductee. Need I say more? And recently launched a podcast called Tremendous Upside for discussion about mental health. What's up, Nate?
Hey, what's up, Goody?
How you doing?
Man, I'm doing well despite the circumstances that we're all dealing with here in the US of A.
Yeah, absolutely. The pandemic has got everybody down, but you know, it gives us the opportunity to do things like this, and it also gives us the opportunity to get to know family again. It gives us the
Right.
opportunity to dig deep and self-search and kind of find some of the skills that you had that you may not have found out if you had been, able to be active like we normally are. So tell us a little bit about what you've been doing lately.
Wow, what have I been doing? Well, right now, playing super mom to my 5-month-old. Aside from that, when things were, we will say, normal, just traveling a lot, throughout the U.S. and some international, speaking on the topic of health and wellness. We launched a podcast through, what is it called, Minnesota Public Radio, to really just interview other athletes, great athletes of our time that were struggling with wellness concerns, and to show people how they got through it with support of family, with support of friends, and just resiliency inside. So it's been a great, great journey for me in that aspect because I know when I was struggling with my challenges, I thought being young, I'm the only one going through these types of things. And when I started to talk about it, I realized, man, we all going through something, and we just, the more we talk about it, the more we heal, the more we connect as a community.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head with that. I mean, we all have something. We all have something that we're dealing with. Some people are more vocal than others, and sometimes it takes a little longer for people to really figure out what's going on with them and to be able to articulate what's going on with
Right.
them. So I'm real happy that you've gotten to the other side of that and now you're helping other people get to the other side of it too. So I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions. Meek, you set a precedent in women's basketball that undoubtedly would be hard for many to follow. What advice would you give the aspiring athletes of today and tomorrow regarding staying focused when things get tough?
Wow, the athletes of today, definitely when I'm working with a lot of kids, it's a different time, so I have to try to like throw out everything that I know in a sense, besides the, basics and meet them where they're at, and a conversation is like, okay, I always say, hey, you've been working on your game? Oh yeah, I was in the gym with coach. Like, what do you do when you leave the gym? What do you do when you leave the field? A lot of these kids aren't putting the work in, and it's great that you can go on Instagram and post your workouts, but you got to do a little bit more to work on things. And it has to be a level of resiliency. I think the thing what I see with young athletes, I was on a call the other day talking to about 20 of them, and things don't go well with coaches. They don't know how to communicate and problem solve. I think one of the first things they do is tell mom and dad or a guardian, and then the coaches got to deal with a parent, who sometimes is living vicariously through their children, and sometimes a parent that knows nothing about sports. Only thing they know is to protect my kid and to speak up for them, and it creates a tension, So I think young people, they aren't necessarily going through this process with a skill set, because what sports does, and you can all speak to this, is that it gives us communication skills, it gives us problem solving. And if you don't learn to work on those things as a young athlete, you're going to see as you go along in the process, you're going to run into some really tough spots, and it really puts them in a position where they're like struggling with that resiliency. So I said, you got to be willing to do sometimes the things that everybody is not doing. I know it's cool now social media is a great platform for a lot of people, but you have to like align yourself with people that are on the same path as you are. You know, I didn't get to go hang out with all my friends because I was playing sports like many of y'all year round, and I sacrificed, right? You're not going to achieve anything if you don't sacrifice. You got to give up something. And, you know, I know you hear stuff, oh, I can have it all. Come on, y'all. We're all successful people, and we know what it's like having to like dive into something and commit. You know, you give up a little piece of yourself. So I just really try to like tell them to create that shift. You know what I'm saying? Don't worry about like fitting in. It's a different type of pressure that we necessarily didn't deal with, because you know the kids now are just trying to keep up with each other, keep up with the Joneses, who has the most followers and who has the most likes. At the end of the day, work, 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 work.
Absolutely. That was just a great answer and great insight into, you know, helping some kids out because they really do have a different walk than we do. And, you know, kudos to you for just even mentioning some of the things that you did. The next question I have for you is coming from the inner city, what organizations or programs were instrumental in helping you stay on track and reach the goals you were trying to achieve at an early age in New York City?
Oh wow, I would say definitely up the block from my projects, the story housing projects, was the Boys and Girls Club. And you know, it's in a
Yes.
lot of inner city communities, we had the PEL, the Police Athletic League, and I wouldn't have known what basketball was without those two support systems. You know, I would follow my neighbor's friend and go to the courts and play, but for me growing up, I was at a time where, as y'all know, it wasn't a lot of girls playing basketball. So these organizations allowed me to play with the boys. They nurtured me, and they supported me. So my life would have definitely been different without the PEL and the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a PAL kid, and so I know exactly what you're talking about is in regards to that. I mean, I know the PAL. I mean, we used to go on trips. We played basketball. They had us all
Mm-hmm.
day long. You know, there's a
Right.
great after school program. I'm sure that some other people on the call will be able to attest to that. So my third question that I have for you is, you accomplished many things as a ball player, but what was the one thing that you accomplished off the court that you're most proud of?
My college degree. I think for me, my family was really big about education, and you know, my uncle when he graduated college, you know, they did like smaller community colleges, and well, my uncle played basketball, so he was out in Montana at the university. But I think just getting that degree, you know, at the end of the day, my grandmother always addressed, you're a student first, you know, that's why it's first student athlete, you know, and I really like locked in, and I can't say it was always easy, but I had a certain level of excellence that I was shooting for. I just didn't want to be a great basketball player, so I just started with good habits early. And I know sometimes, you know, you get lost in the sport, and I did that when I went to college. I had a great resume as far as academics at Christ the King High School. And then I go to Tennessee, man. I'm like, the lights is on, you know, I'm playing on a big platform, and I went from being like a B student to a C student my first two semesters at Tennessee. And so I'm an A on the basketball court, C in the classroom. And my Hall of Fame and legendary coach Pat Summitt was like, listen, like some people I could accept this, but from you I can't. So she made me stay in the dorm. Goody, I had to stay in the dorm when I could have moved off campus. And you know we try to move off campus. And I'm angry. I want to transfer to UConn. But let's just say after my freshman year, I never got below a 3.5. A 3.5, like I worked because I wanted to be, again, just as good as I was on the court, a student, you know? And I just put the work in.
Yeah. I mean, your testimony is Pat. Mine was my father. He was like, you know, you're an all-star on the basketball court, but you know, in the classroom, you're terrible. And you know, until you get that right, um, I'm not coming to watch you play, which made me feel some type of way. So, you know, I did step up my game. I never admitted to him that it was because of him, but um, you know, I did it anyway. So, I mean, that's a good testimony right there, and I appreciate you answering those questions for me. Anybody want to ask Meek anything?
I have a question for
Ren,
you.
oh,
I'm sorry, I'm Vid Lamonte
hey,
Bucks.
hey, man.
Um, I have a question for you. I coach a lot of girls. I coach girls basketball. And what I find a lot of times is that they hold themselves back. Like with boys, we're more aggressive, you know what I mean, by nature, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But some of my players, you know, they have the talent and everything, but they hold their self back. I think it's because of how society says that a girl's supposed to be not as aggressive, be ladylike or whatnot. That's just
Mm-hmm.
my thinking. But would you, if you was coaching girls,
Mm-hmm.
how would you advise them to get over that? You know what I mean?
And
Just go out and play hard.
sorry about that. You coach women's basketball or girls basketball?
Yes,
Is it a
basketball,
basketball?
and then
Okay.
also train them. Yes.
Okay, so first of all, you have a lot of young girls who are involved in sport, and a lot of times when I walk into those situations to speak to teams, I say, "All right, y'all all want to play college? Yeah, I want to play college. I want to play WNBA. Tell me 5 WNBA players, right?" And a lot of times they don't know. So that kind of like ticks me off because I knew before it was on television. I can tell you about all the pioneers of the game, right? Secondly, a lot of times it's like it's there's no excuse because we live in a time where these young girls have access to, the Candace Parkers, the Deladons. They have access to, these amazing soccer players. They see women competing, right? If you want to compete, they have examples. It's just like me when I was struggling with my mental health. I was like, oh my God. But then I saw Catherine Zeta-Jones talked about it publicly. So this is like a role model of mine. Like oh my God, like so they have the ability to see. And as you know, these kids, what are they on all the time? Cell phones, video. So it's no excuse. And so it's about you bringing up those examples and telling them like, yo, if you want this, look, check this player out. Go watch this player, man. She's this way. Come on, let's go get it. And you're coaching young girls. So I had a call with some coaches last week too. And they're like, man, coaching men, young boys and girls is so different because the guys, like you said, are so athletically inclined, but the girls, they ask a lot more detailed questions. And so you actually are at an advantage, and that's what a lot of the male coaches said. It's just a matter of connecting with them and showing them the way because they're definitely a different set of eyes, I think, on a game, and I'm sure the other women who are athletes can attest to that on this call.
Thank you.
You're welcome, brother.
Absolutely. Anybody else?
This Penny, yeah, I don't have a question. I just have a statement, pretty much for me. I don't know if you remember that day we were sitting in the IHOP when you first got to the Spark.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that day? And see, I remember that day when we was in the IHOP. My statement is, I am so, so proud of you. And I'm sure a million people told you that because it takes courage, and you're the perfect example of what it always say when God don't give you too much to bear. He give it to our greatest leaders to lead us in areas that people are uncomfortable. And you stepped up to the plate, and after you wrote your book and you're running with it now, every time I miss you when you came to the Sparks last year when you were coming to every team.
Right.
And I was like, oh, man, I miss Meek. I walked in, I missed the day. But I just wanted to say I'm so proud of you because you took the ball, you ran with it, and you showed that you were more than just a basketball player, like you said. And this word that you're spreading now, you have one that's a basketball community, but with mental health, you're talking to the world, to nations now. And I just wanted to say I'm just proud of you.
Oh, thank you, Penny. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, we got to, I know this is, we got a whole discussion, but we got to get on a call, just a little Hoopers crew. So we got to, Goody, you got to set that up in maybe like a week or two where we connect.
Listen, I'm trying to keep this, I really would like us to do this if we can every Sunday. We call it Sunday Brunch.
Oh, yeah,
And,
definitely. So make it happen.
All it is an invite, baby. Me and a commitment from everybody to be there every Sunday, and we figure out a time that works for all of us. Because this time may not work for everybody. We just did it, but we can. I'll share everybody's numbers, and then we just we dialogue from there, and we can keep this, and we can do Sunday Brunch every Sunday, and we have it, and we just talk about different projects and stuff like that. My next guest up is Tamika Dixon, another WNBA great out of Linden, New Jersey. She was a Big 12 Player of the Year for the University of Kansas. Kodak All-American, two-time WNBA champion with the LA Sparks, and current business owner. Can I get a hand clap for me? Can I get a hand clap? All right, Meek. My first, talk to us a little bit about what you're doing, especially the business owner part.
So right now, I actually own a car rental business. I own a Avis and Budget car rental, and it's been tough with this COVID, this pandemic that's going around because nobody wants to rent a car to go anywhere. So business for me is a struggle right now. But the good thing I think in that is that people are adhering to the shelter in place, the stay at home things. We're trying to get this over with so we can kind of move. I don't think it'll ever be business as usual. We're going to figure out some more creative ways to live after this. But I think, as long as we move in a more healthy way and we get out of this COVID situation, my business will bounce back. So from that perspective, from the business perspective, not doing so well. But my business is built to last. The recession for me will be over soon, and we'll keep moving. Life is good, so that's all. That's a good thing.
You have all our love and support. I'm just a phone call away, so anything that you need, pick up the phone and call me. New Jersey
Absolutely.
Drive over here. New Jersey Drive.
For
We're
sure.
20 minutes away from each other. So it's all good. So I have my first question for you. Meek, you also set a precedent in women's basketball that will be tough for kids out of Linden, New Jersey to follow. What advice would you give the aspiring athletes of today and tomorrow regarding achieving their goals through adversity?
So I'm going to piggyback on what Meek said a little bit. As far as today's athlete, I think they're dealing with so much more, and the big piece of that is kind of the social media thing. I think that's the biggest adversity I think potential elite athletes will face because it's probably hard for them to kind of separate the two. And in order to be elite and in order to get, past that, you kind of gotta, like Meek said, you gotta figure out, how you're gonna separate yourself from, putting the time and the effort in. And a lot of times, these kids today, the social media is the thing. Like I tell my stepson, I have a 15-year-old stepson who claims he wants to be elite, but he's downstairs on the Xbox right now, so, you gotta figure out what elite's gonna be. If he put the same amount of time into his game, his basketball game, as he did, on the Xbox, he might be going somewhere. He might have it, he might do something. But that's the thing, being able to separate, that social media life from real life and really, really putting in the time and the effort to be as successful as you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I ask this question, and I try to keep the questions the same between everybody, except when I start to get, more into your life, your own life, the answer is pretty much going to be the same, all across the board, the work ethic and decide who you want to be,
Right.
So that question, that answer was on point as well. My third question for you is, you accomplished many things as a baller, but what was the one thing that you accomplished that you're really, really proud of yourself?
I would say, and again, piggybacking off of me, like our stories kind of correlate in that, I was able to go back and get my master's degree. Even, after my playing career was over. So for for me, was definitely a high point. And then, owning and operating a business was another thing that, was a goal of mine that I had in mind for a long time. And, being able to finally achieve that and do that was another goal that I'm thankful and blessed to be able to do. So those two things, going back and getting my master's and then, owning and operating a business were the two things that, because after, that transition period, for us athletes could be shaky. not knowing where you're going to go. And when all you did all your life, from 3 years old on up for me was dribbling a basketball. So for me, being able to do some things outside of that, was a tremendous accomplishment for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that we're both from New Jersey, and we share some of the same places that we went. I mean, you came after me, but I mean, like I was talking to the other Meek that's on the call. We have certain programs that we have in the tri-state area, which were the Boys and Girls Club, the PAL. All of us have some type of testimony to the PAL. I mean, talk to us about some of the places and some of the stomping grounds that you went, and maybe some programs that are still out there right now that parents just don't know about.
So the PAL was huge for me. I'm a PAL kid too. So it's ironic that all of us kind of went through that and had that, the Boys and Girls Club and the PAL experience. I had that. But for me, the organization, which is not really an organization, is the playground. These kids don't get out. You listen.
Okay.
I could drive by 10 or 15 basketball courts and they're empty. And when I remember growing
Yes.
up, man, you couldn't find a court to play on. That how much did you learn from the playground experience? Just being out there. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that organization, which really wasn't an organization, but it was the school of hard knocks for us, because you kind of learn, you
Exactly.
learn everything on the playground. And these
Exactly.
kids are
Exactly.
missing out on that opportunity because they don't play outside, you know, or they have to be in a gym with a trainer, or those things. They're missing out on so much with just with that piece, that playground experience, or that just playing outside with other people.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So now I'm gonna open it up for other people to ask her questions. So we start with Penny, if you have one, then we'll go to Meek, then we'll go down the line.
Miss Penny, and I haven't had the opportunity to work with Shamika and Tamika Dixon. And this to Tamika Dixon, one day I'm just gonna make a statement. Chelsea tried to say, "Look, Penny, I heard you were a good ball handler. I can handle the ball better than you." She was talking about me, right? And I told her, "Until you can handle the ball better than Tippy Toe Dixon." I say, AKA Tamika Dixon. I say, AKA Tamika Dixon. And give that look you used to give when you get in the zone. I say, then holler back at me. I tell everybody, I say, Mika, put that ball on the floor and get to that hole and pull up that J.
Man, that
Chelsea
set was like crazy. Good times.
I know, so I told Chelsea, so go pull out some video, and when you can do it like tippy toe, holler back at me.
I think the beauty of this is like being able to just converse with people like my sisters, basketball sisters, that we've had so many experiences over the years, and just being able to just sit down and converse with y'all, man, it's incredible, and share all the stories that only we know.
For real.
That's why I said
some stories we're gonna keep to ourselves, though. Some stories is gonna stay in a story between us.
Definitely. Man, I'm trying to think.
And Mick,
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Penny.
No, you go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, when I obviously, being with the Sparks for 20 years, I got so many great stories to tell. And when I tell people, when we remember this week when we won our first championship, I say, "You the only player I knew." This is a funny story and a great story. That she had plantar fasciitis, so she would never practice. We would be wheeling her off the airplane, and she would just get up and play the game. And after the game, get back in the wheelchair. And we'd never practice. But to show her dedication and your toughness and to the team, that I always tell everybody when I talk to college students, come to practice. Practice is where the real stuff happens. The game is the show. And see, a lot of people don't know. Mika fell off the bus right before that first game that we were playing against New York, and hurt her foot. We didn't even know if she was going to play. I'm literally, for the whole series, We wheelchair Meek into the game. She gets up and plays, and we wheelchair her out. And people
fact.
never knew that. But that was your dedication, that you had to your team, to the organization, that you wanted to be a part of it. And if that meant you had to just do therapy and play the games, you played it. And a lot of people don't know that. But my memoirs are coming, Meek. And hopefully I can have that story. Every champion, like Shamika said, has to sacrifice or believe in something. And Meek, you were all in. You were all in. I got nothing but great memories. All in.
For sure.
Yeah, I used to be scared of her. She a little older than me. But you're a year or two older, man. We from the same area, so we grew up playing against each other.
2 years,
man. Yep. It was you and you had a cousin, Simone or something.
Oh yeah.
Yo,
Simone.
they were tough. They was tough. I was over at the Catholic school, like G black girls. They used to come, and I was just like, man, that first step. I mean, to this day, I tell people, I'm like, the quickest two people that I played against as far as the first step is Tamika Dixon and Dominique Cansey.
Oh man.
And that's New Jersey.
Appreciate it.
And that's Chicago.
Yeah. Appreciate it. So Meek, I got a great story for you. So you were younger than me, but you inspired me, and let me tell you how. So when we were in high school, I think I was a junior. You was maybe a freshman. You were 2 years behind me. Mm-hmm. And I kept, we didn't have social media back then, but I kept hearing, you hear about some of the great that's coming up, the upcoming, great players. And I kept hearing this Shamiqua Holdsclaw. Mm-hmm. So I remember I was getting, I kept reading articles and stuff about you. I'm like, oh, this Shamiqua Holdsclaw must be tough. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So my father one day wanted to go out and work out with me. And I kept, me and my dad, we used to always talk about stuff, always talk. Mm-hmm. So he wanted to work out. And this one day I didn't feel like working out. So my dad goes, well, Shamiqua Holdsclaw's out there working out right now. I said, well, let me go get my shoes. She's coming for you. I said, oh, let me go get my shoes.
Right. I love it. I got a question too.
That's a great story.
That is great. What would you tell, because you mentioned transitions, and we all know, how you said, that transition period could be hard. And I know, a lot of athletes, some women that I played with, and even my, our male counterparts, NBA, NFL, everybody's, dealing with that, and they don't have, that confidence. They have this period where they don't understand, everything that they've learned through sport, how that can actually transition to the business world, but it's this fear. It's this fear where they get stuck, and I'm like, come on, I know it's not easy because they have not been in the ask, people have done things or whatever. And I know when I was first all right, sports is over. I'm trying to decide what I want to do. And I remember Coach Summit was like, listen, we can't read your mind. What is it that you want to do? So how do you, I want to say what advice you could give, especially kids who are college athletes, right? As they start to transition, everybody's not going to play pro. Exactly. And they start suffering the anxiety and the depression. What could you say that, as an adult now, what could really help? I would ask.
I would say, we talk about goal setting early. We've always had that, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you have to set your intentions early. I remember even while I was still playing in the league, I was interning. I interned with, NBA TV. Just trying to figure out, kind of what my next steps would be, what I wanted to do. So I would say you got to set your intentions early, and then find a mentor, find somebody that's doing what you want to do, because either that's going to show you your steps, your roadblock or your roadmap to success or to your next step, or it's going to show you that I thought this is what I wanted to do, but this might not be my avenue, because you're going to go through that. I went through, I don't know, I went through so many different business opportunities and things.
Hmm.
You know, I did a lot before I kind of figured out, you know, okay, I want to kind of do my own thing, be a business
Right.
owner. Um, but you gotta, it's no easy way to go through it. You're gonna go
Hmm.
through it. But I think you can kind of cut some of the steps out if you set your intentions and then find a couple mentors that you think can help you get where you want to go.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely good advice.
Hmm.
Because
Yep.
I sometimes I'm like they're just so like I'm like y'all at these major universities in a lot of cases, and I'm like y'all gotta understand they're gonna pimp you, so you gotta figure out how to take advantage of everything that's there. You know, make sure that's your business card. Y'all know when you in college, like come on, shake them hands, do what you gotta
Absolutely.
do. You know, but they
Absolutely.
still they don't get it. Like I'm like, come on now.
Hmm. That's big.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's why I say you look at college now is and the thing that I see from that we didn't have the opportunity to do, it's too easy to transfer as opposed to making people commit. When you
Oh,
commit and
right.
you give your word,
Mhm.
you have to commit, and they forget. It's like a lot of college coaches and AD jobs are hanging on a star player just leaving just because they had a bad day. And this
Hmm.
is
Right.
where I go back to you, Meek, when you said the organization that I think that we were built on that really wasn't an organization, like you said, was the playground. Because when you go to the playground, you do get knocked down, you get up, you get pushed around. It built toughness. It built
Mhm.
character. It made you
Absolutely.
understand that tomorrow is a new day. Where being a GM, when I was scouting in college, every year I would have to go back because at least 20 or 30 stars that just said, I'm out of here, and just
Hmm.
change schools all the time. Where when we play, in order to change schools, you're going to have to sit out of here, which made you maybe want to stay in there,
Mhm.
and it's about being committed. And people don't even realize it, even at that level more than any other level. If you can't commit to that, there's a lot of things in life that you're not going to commit to. So
Facts.
Right.
it's
You're right.
Yeah.
they have to start making these kids at a younger age. Yeah, you have a lot of opportunities, but with a lot of opportunity comes accountability and responsibility. That you have to, once you commit. No, I can't just wake up and be like, oh, me and the coach, I'm done, I'm out of here, because the next
Hmm.
day is going to be a new day. But yet that coach goes on and maybe lose a job or the program falls down. It's back to, yeah, you have a lot of opportunities, but you got to take on a lot of that responsibility and commitment too.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
A-
Right.
Absolutely. I have a good friend of mine who's actually, she just came on. She's a behavioral therapist, and she does a lot of work with a lot of people, um,
Mhm.
transitioning and stuff like that. And so, now that it's like the perfect time to bring her in because we're talking about transition and how hard it's been. I know for me, I have a story. I definitely have a testimony about, going from player to, who I'm going to be in this life. Because when we retire, you guys, we're retiring at 33, 34, 35, 36, and you still have at least 30 years left in the workforce. And if
Right.
you haven't prepared well for that, you could run into problems, all types of problems. And, so I'm going to introduce, her name is Tara Towns, actually. She's from Bayonne, New Jersey. And, Tara, introduce yourself and speak to us about some of the things that,
Okay.
we could talk about, or just give us some insight into, transitioning.
I first want to say hello, everyone. Please forgive my voice. A lot of talking yesterday. Happy Sunday. But
Happy Sunday.
I want to say one thing about preparing the younger generation, because I've had some athletes struggle with that transition, and I've had some music people who were once very, very huge at one time, and now they're kind of like, what do I do with this? Especially the younger athletes. And what I want people to do with these kids is to explain to them that yes, you can reach for any star that you want because there's so many in the sky, and we don't want to limit them. But I mean, you can kind of name on your hands how many people really make it to that level. But the same drive and passion that they have in that sport when they're younger is the same drive and passion that they can implement in other things. So exposing them to other things that they really, really are interested in is huge, and not just focusing on one single thing. Because if you get that injury or if you get that cut, you kind of go into, number one, the panic of not having the world that you were used to. And then number two, when that wears down, you're going to go into depression, you're going to go into anger issues, and then you're going to start questioning who you are. And we don't want that, because sports, I love sports. It teaches people camaraderie, it teaches them teamwork, it teaches them, how to love yourself, how to dive into something and present yourself to the world through a sport. It also is a stress reliever, even though it can cause stress, and I know you guys know that as well. But I think that to train children into setting up, I call them POAs when I work with any client, a plan of action outside of what you feel is going to be the thing that you are going to do on this planet. So once again, it's connecting with yourself. And even people have an issue as well in transitioning into the business world who have athleticism is a form of business. So training college students, or even people in general, to use those skills. You have to be on time. You have to have meetings. You have to have schedules. These are all things that can be applied to the new world, the new beginning after your sports or after you were, a celebrity in the music industry. You still are special. You still are a star. It's just what is the next thing that you're going to dominate, and just hone in on your POA, your plan of action. You have to have, it's not even a backup plan. It's a plan that must be coupled with when you're transitioning into your starism or whatever, your success. You should have this POA right next to you all the time, because it is as equal. And when you look at it as it's an equal form of yourself, you're not going to focus totally on like, okay, I did this, I mastered it, now what? Because the now what is a big old space inviting in negative thoughts, depression, anxiety, anger, bitterness. It's all of those emotions, because it was just focusing on one thing. We're all talented. God bless us with many talents. So we must embrace all of them, so that when one is finished, it served a time, it served a purpose. And that takes it down a little bit to look at, I had my time and I did my thing in that time. Now what am I going to do my other thing in my next time? So that's something that I feel that we should definitely implement, especially with the younger athletes coming up into this industry.
That's a great one. Does anybody have any questions?
No, but I do have a comment to make. I definitely agree with everything she said, because even though, I'm not the GM anymore of the Sparks, I've actually reached out to Terry, because the thing that what we're going through now has exposed, and, I've dedicated my life just like all of you guys have, Adrian, Meek, and all of to women's basketball. So, just because I'm not working in that capacity anymore, I always say I still have a lot to give, And I actually reached out to Terry Jackson, because the work has to start now, not after your career is over, just like what the young lady was saying about plan of action. And obviously, I'm sitting in that seat for so long, I have so many resources available to me that I reached out to Terry and go, hey, Terry, I have this magnificent person, and I've seen her work, because I always say we shouldn't have to wait for a crisis in order to be ready. I'm one of those people, like, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And that's great that we're always looking to the NBA to give us jobs. But it's time now, because the WNBA has been here for a while, that if we can do this correctly and the right way, that when this next generation, I'm talking about after this next wave of 5 to 7, that you'll have WNBA people that can give WNBA people jobs. It's not just about being on the court, and there's a plan of action. That the problem is guess what? Everybody go have a plan of action, have a plan of action, have a plan of action, right? Here's the plan of action that everybody needs to be saying. Let me show you what it is. Because a lot of people can talk about a plan of action, but can't teach it, can't show it, and can't put it in a form where all these athletes can get it. I done seen it been done, and I told Terry, hey, really would like for you guys to work with them, and, you know, I'm going to give it to the NBA as well, because I truly believe that athletes, and I know this from my own self, when people ask me, how was I successful? Because we're disciplined creatures. We could take everything we learned from the court into the boardroom. And to be honest with you, my whole career before I was a general manager was as a player. I don't have problems with people that were players. I have problems with business people that never been a part of a team, you know. But my point is now we have to give resources. It's not just about the tennis shoe endorsement. It's not just about, like Meek was saying, how many social media people I got. No, can we go get some people that can help these people lay out a plan and show them what the plan is? Because the focus shouldn't be after my career is finished, and the reason it shouldn't be because women, we're not making millions of dollars. But while you're in the game, like me said, if you leverage your assets, you can make millions of dollars before you go out of here. That when you leave out of here, you're just transition right into your other life that you already had going at the same time. I think we need to bring the resources that when we're sending people out to talk to people, it's not a one and done. No, it should be something where they have to stay connected to them, the one that want to stay connected to them. And I'm telling you, I've seen a plan that I believe that everybody in the WNBA would be remiss if they didn't look at this, because when you see it laid out, there is a formula that everybody can be successful, and if they're not, it'll be on them. I truly believe this. And I actually wrote to Terry last week. I actually sent it to ncaa, who's president of the Players Union, and I go, hey, you know, I'm bothered by this. There may not be a league if there isn't a season this year. What are a lot of those players going to do? And I always loved about the WNBA that people forget about it. With the WNBA, no, we're not making millions, but we had an opportunity to have a great double life, life that we could be basketball players and be great entrepreneurs if we wanted to. But people tend to focus on one area when you can set yourself up perfectly to be something else. You know, now is no different than myself when people go, oh, you're not the GM anymore. I'm not going to crumble. I can take all the answers I have and become bigger. And this is why I was proud of you, Shaniqua. You became bigger. Irvin Johnson, if you're the equivalent of Magic Johnson, always like become bigger after your playing career. But we have to give the resources and not talk about it. We also have to make players, once again, be accountable, take control of your future.
Right. You know what? To kind of piggyback that, I feel like having gone around to different sports organizations, what really bothered me was, like you said, people do enough just to check the boxes. Like we know, like you said, you have a plan. My question is, Terry receptive to it? Like people be like, oh yeah, because they're, you know, they have their lives and thing. They're trying to do things, you know, like they have like rules within their organization. But if these athletes, like I got kind of like annoyed when I did the thing with the WNBA, and I love, you know, those are my sisters, but these young women are saying that they need X, Y, and Z. So why are they not giving this? And it's something very, very simple, but also for some of them, when they hit me up, I'm like, yo, have you opened your mouth? So we have to take accountability, but we also, hey, the union has to work for us and stop checking the damn boxes. They do it from the NFL to the NBA to college, you know? But it's so much more. These organizations as a whole, because we know the WNBA is really connected in the sense to the NBA, but let's even look at the owners. Like, hello, who owns your damn team? You're the star player. Like, why are you not going to the owner and saying, hey, can we get X, Y, and Z? I need help with this. But no, sometimes we sit there and we're just like, well, I talked to the union and the union said, oh, they can't do X, Y, and Z, or I talked to the GM of the team. Sometimes you got to say, fuck it, right? Like I gotta go, and you tell me if I'm wrong. Like I gotta go. You own this team. Like, is there any way that you can help me? But we just stop. It's like we as women sometimes, like the brother on here was saying, like, why does the women get kind of timid? Like you was around it 20 years, Penny. I don't know. Why do you think we get so freaking timid and not claiming our space?
Like I said, I'm when I'm looking at it, I look at so many athletes, and I've been around so many that, and I'm gonna just lay it out there. 'Cause y'all know I don't know any other women out there. Today, athletes think they know it all versus, hey, this is where I think they should be pulling in a lot of vets that done went through it, and we went through it hard knocks, and give the resources. And you hit it, and you said it even better than I did about they're bringing in people just to check the box, but where's the follow up?
Right.
Where's the accountability? Did you do the work? Because sometimes that little push, just like what we got, that little push when we were young, it can propel us to do a lot of things. And when they have those little wins, and not just when somebody come in, you talk, and then 30 minutes later they can't even remember what you talked about, what you discussed, because where's that accountability? And this is what is what I'm saying now that why I reached out to the union. If you really want them to be successful, we have to be proactive, not reactive. And this is what it's showing us. You have to have a plan. And I think a lot of kids, they really don't understand that everybody will not make it. They all think they're going to make it. There's a reason, and I will be speaking from this. There's a reason that your contract is 3 years to the team with the option on the team year. Because we know, that's the contract I'm saying, because we know in 3 or 4 years that you're going to be a star or you're going to be out the league. People won't, it's going to be that very few that have 15-year careers. It's not going to happen. So, or I always say you one step away from, like the doctor said, you one step away from stepping off the curb and blowing your knee out or twisting your ankle and your career is over. But I also say that the league has to be accountable, the players union has to do it. And even from a team perspective, that you have to, it shouldn't just be about games because our league can't afford that. It has to be some about developing your life. And I just think there are a lot of athletes, I mean, at its elementary level, can they name 5 players? No, they cannot. They're not even studying what they're going to compete against. That's why they're not making the league. But if you go and ask a male counterpart, he can tell you who's on the team, what position he played, all these things. And this is why I say college, high school, you have to be invested just like in the WNBA, because a lot of these people are striving to get there, but they don't even know the product. How can you be successful? And like I say, if you can't even be successful there, you will not be successful off the court, because it goes back to what Meek was saying. You're not doing the work. You want everybody to give it to you. And when you get in the real world, in a team, you're racing against, say, 13, or let's just say on a team any given time, I don't know, maybe like 500 players in the league, and you're only going to come down to 144. But in the world, you're working against millions. Do you have the stamina to do that? Do you have the tools to do that? And it needs to be put to them like that, because trust me, you will have that depression. You will have that, what do I do next? It's so many things. And we have an obligation to help feed these kids. And sometimes it's not the first hit or checking the box, like you say, but the follow-up. We have to have follow-up.
Wow. I mean, Penny, I had questions for you, but you blew me on that one. So I don't even really know what to ask you now, because you've pretty much answered most of the questions that I had for you. So I guess I'll just ask you the first one I had. You were also another player who made it out of tough place called Chocolate City, because it's predominantly black. What was your recipe to success?
I think,
what do you tell kids?
I had a great role model, my parents. Unfortunately, I lost them when I was 20 years old. A lot of people didn't know this story. I shared it with Meek years ago, and Tamika Dixon was on the team with me, so they know. A lot of people look at this Penny Toller, and they'd be like, I had a player tell me one time, Penny, you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. I go, really? For me, I had great parents. We didn't have a lot of money, but we had what we needed, and that was love, dedication. My mom was high on, when you give your word, I don't have to sign it because that's what I'm going to do. You know, I think that going to one of the questions like you asked them, I think my greatest achievement when I became the GM, only thing I wanted to do is just like when I was a kid, when I lost my parents, I said, in order to validate how hard my parents worked, I have to be successful because I know how hard they worked to put shoes on my feet, food in my mouth, and a shelter over my head. That when I became the GM and I knew, and this is relevant, that I'm an Afro-American GM. The only thing I wanted to do was be great. And I'm not bragging. I don't want to sound conceited, and I was that. And it didn't matter because everybody else was white when I had my job, and I'm not, you know, a racist or anything. But I knew I had to be good for two reasons. One, I was black, and two, because I wanted that the next time they look at a person being a GM, that we can be executives. We don't have to just be the players on the court. I was happy when Ruth became a GM. I was super excited when Tamika Catchings became a GM. And I know a couple of years ago she said she wouldn't want to be one, and I ran across her in Indiana. And I said, Tamika, why did you go away from that? You should be that because you would be a good GM, you know? I always wanted them to give us an opportunity, you know, after the basketball court to lead a team, that we can lead a team. And because athletes are disciplined, we have strong commitment, you know what I'm saying? And definitely for my era, we have the stomach that just because something is difficult, we're not going to tap out. It's too easy to tap out nowadays. We're going to hang in there and we're going to stay in there and we're going to give it all we can give it. And I just like now after basketball, when a lot of people ask me, you know, when, you know, what happened in my situation, obviously the ending wasn't as great as what I would have liked. But a lot of people called me and they go, I know it's a bad time. They thought I wouldn't pick up the phone. No, I'm going to pick the phone up. Your true character shows in bad times, not in good times, you know. And just like now when I'm preparing for, you know, I've always been in real estate. Like I told you, I've lost my parents early, so I've always known and I've always had my real estate on the other side that, no, a lot of players go out and buy cars. No, if you ever going broke, I can sell a house and get some money, not the car. The car depreciates way below. And just like you, Meek, I've diversified some of my properties where some were Airbnbs, where I was making way more money in the Airbnb market than at my home job because everybody was in there. Matter of fact, where I'm at today, it's literally 3 blocks from Staples. And the Airbnb, it makes a killing. But I'm not going to rest on that. I'm still going to try to give what I can give to the WNBA. But no, my platform has been developed now that I will become a inspirational, motivational speaker because I can teach what I'm preaching right now to people that want to hear this. And it will roll out immediately after it was about to start before this, you know, COVID-19 start, because I feel I have a lot of tools that I can give to people. I can mentor a lot of people to be good. I know what it takes to be a leader. I know what it takes to be great, you know, and I want to share that knowledge with everybody. I've had an extraordinary life. I tell the people all the time, whoever heard me say, if I die tomorrow, I'll go to heaven and I'll say, thank you, God. I couldn't have had a better life than what I've had. But now it's my turn that I have a lot of time now. I gave back, but now that I have a lot of time, I can really give everything that I've learned my entire life and my 20 years as a GM, that I could give back and hope that if it could change just one person's life, it will make a difference. And that's just not basketball players. That's in the corporate world as well. Associations, Afro-American women, because it's tough going from the court to the boardroom and being successful there. And I know not a lot of people can say, and matter of fact, one of my friends just told me the other day, Penny, I Googled you, and you know there's only one GM that's been a GM longer than you. And I think his name is Bradshaw. He's the New York Yankees GM right now. He's been the GM for 22 years. And when I say longer, of the same team. I was 20 years of one team. And that's a lot of knowledge. You know, I've had many players that had great stories extraordinary stories that people don't know. Like the one I told about me being wheelchaired, you know, that's just determination, heart and guts. And I just have a lot to give. And that's where I'm going to make my next platform, because the money I can make, but the word is what I think is more important, giving back what I've experienced. And this is this is where you will see me next. This is where you will see Penny Tolley on.
Wow. And that's just awesome. I mean, that's just an awesome testimony. And I was looking at you the other day and just reading about so many things, and I was just like, man, she really, really had longevity, and I'm just so proud of you. From where we've come from, and just encountering you the first time at Blue Star basketball camp, and you and Donna Harrington, we go back like six packs, and to see where you are right now and all of the things that you've accomplished it's just extraordinary. It's an extraordinary testimony, and I really do hope that they're listening to you over there at the Players Association, because getting in that door and knocking on that door, I've tried plenty of times. It wasn't an easy thing. The organization that you helped build from the ground up, and then you can't get back in the door, is just crazy to me. So I hope that they're listening to you, and you'll continue to knock on that door for us and for the ones that come after us, because it has been 24 years. I definitely have to change. But going into another thing, I'm going to allow I have a youngster on that I'm going to allow to ask you a question. But before I ask that question, I want to get your thoughts. Let her ask that question. I want to get your thoughts on the virtual draft.
For me?
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, at my job, I had the opportunity to learn a lot of stuff, and when I say a lot of stuff, marketing, when you're at the top, I educated myself on a lot of things. I think it had the most viewership that it ever had. I never want to critique anybody else's work or anything like that. And so, because it's like hindsight, and a lot of people have a lot of different opinions. And if you ask all of us probably would have had a different draft, but it was on, it had a lot of viewership, and, I'm sure all the kids were happy. I never want to critique anybody else's work, because it's easier to do that. Would I have done a couple of things different? Yes, but we all could say that, but we're not the ones putting it on. But we all could have done some things different, and haven't seen a lot of drafts, so, I really wouldn't want to critique that so much, because, everybody has an opinion of it. But it did have the most viewership that it ever had. So.
And I actually enjoy it. I mean, Meek and I, we and Vid, we actually watched it, and
I watched it too. The whole thing.
I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I didn't know how it was going to come across, but it's the world that we live in right now. So we actually sat, all three of us, and just really enjoyed how it came out, and it was a little different, but it's what had to be done. And there could have been some things that could have been different, but who's to say how I would have put that on if I had to put that on, so
exactly.
I appreciate your take on it. And
no, I just wanted to say, at the end of the day, it goes back to even if they didn't have a virtual draft, and this is where we really have to go back to, and I know I'm older than Shamiqua, I think I'm older than you, and I'm older than me. It goes back to when I was a player, I had to go overseas because there wasn't a WNBA. So even if this be drafted, let's say if they didn't have anyone, I just think everybody just needs to be grateful. Grateful for the opportunity. So that's kind of how I look at it. Like, even if there wasn't a draft, even if I had to see it on the ticket, I know me personally, I would have been like, yay. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Absolutely.
I have a question. So can I ask a question, Goody? Is that okay?
Yes.
So, all right. So, being a woman of color in sports, I mean, I want to know, who are your mentors? Like, you don't have to name them, but do you have good, solid mentors? Because right now, it's like, again, you're in a transition after 20 years of success, and now you're like, okay, I'm stepping outside of the box. You have the skill set. But do you find like your mentorship? Do you have those people lined up to be ready to assist you?
I've been fortunate and lucky that one of my biggest mentors, and even when, what happened to me a couple of months happened to me, and, you know your friends when bad stuff happened, Paula Madison. If I don't know if you guys are familiar with Paula Madison. Paula Madison used to own the Los Angeles Sparks. And Paula's always championed me. Like, even when I was walking out the door from, walking away from my job, my first call was to Paula, because Paula and I have always been very, very close. And Paula Madison is, she was a pioneer in the business world. I mean, being the highest black ever in Universal, so you already know what she had to put up with, right? And it was so funny because one day she said this to me one day. She called me on the phone. She goes, "Hey, Penny, I just want to see how you doing, what you're doing." And she said to me, she said, "Penny, you know what? You actually are lucky." And I said, "Lucky? Why you say that?" She said, "Because, look, it's 20 years that you're experiencing what you're experiencing now, being a female, being black, fired for no reason, all these things." He said, "Usually it happens a lot earlier in our careers, and she's always been a champion of mine, believe it or not." And I go back to this. In my early career, I had Dr. Buss and Johnny Buss. They weren't even women. They were men, white men at that. And Shamika, you know how Johnny is. When this happened, you already know Johnny was calling me because Johnny was like, "What?" Like, I'm sure you guys probably were thinking, "What in the hell is this?" You know what I'm saying? Right. Johnny was calling. And so I've been lucky, and I like to say that because, you guys know me as a person, too, that I consider myself to be a good person, that all that reciprocity now is coming back where I didn't have to look too far because I was a good GM, but I was an even better person, I like to think. So answer your question, Paula Madison, Roosevelt Madison, Johnny Buss. It's so many people that stepped out. And this is how I met the young lady that I referred to the players union, because I go, my God, looking at the work that this lady does, I'm like, this is, and I have mentors that you wouldn't even ever heard their names because they're business people like that, not in the limelight. So they're all stepping in and going, "Now, Penny, hey, now you can step into your real world where you can impact not just the players on your team, but a lot of other people." So it's been a great transition, and I've never, I'm so open to the process because we're athletes. We want to compete. We want to see what's the next thing we can conquer. So you embrace it. But I've had mentors, and I've been lucky to have them. But Paula Madison will be the one that you would know, and that's probably, literally, she's Afro-American, was very, very powerful. You look at her, they own a compound on Martha Vineyards, and their whole family is an investment company. She's from New York too. Her mother was Chinese, her dad was black. So in their family structure, they make sure the wealth is passed down, just like the Kennedys, and you never hear that when they own something, every member of the family owns it. And that's a great dynamic to see for an Afro-American, because she's somebody that's like me, the color of me. Right. Yeah, so she's been huge for my transition now to my next thing.
Okay, awesome.
Cool. I have a young lady who's sitting next to her mother. Her name is Maya McNair, and she's a baller. She plays ball, and right now she's in the service, and so she is sitting there intrigued by the audience that she has right now. I don't even think she expected or even knew that this was going to even be going on today, because I asked her mom to come on at the last minute, and so she's sitting there a little starstruck. But I'm going to prompt her on. Maya, you introduce yourself. Go ahead, Maya.
Hi guys. This is a great opportunity. I'm supposed to be at work right now, but I got a free day. It doesn't really happen a lot in the military, so I'm excited to be a part of this. But like Adrian said, that I've been playing since I was 5. I was MVP and top scorer in high school and all of that, and then my high school coaches didn't really keep up with film, so I kind of had to put myself out there, and I ended up walking on to a college team, battled some injuries, and unfortunately the next season I think politics played a big part, but I got cut, so it was a big blow to me because I felt I was the best player on the floor, and I was even told by other people, like, why are you here at this school? You should be playing somewhere else. So to get that, I felt lost. So to hear you guys talk about it, I know it's a different type of level because you were playing where I want to go professionally and then playing for so long, and now you have to figure out where you are. I went through that same thing. I was lost and didn't really know where to go, so I joined the Air Force, and I've been in for about a year and a half. I'm a cop, so teamwork is a big thing, and it's funny because a lot of people in basic training, they had a tough time, but me, they were like, oh, I'm getting screamed at. I was used to that. I've had coaches get in my face and scream, and I've had the workouts weren't difficult, and being away from family wasn't difficult. So I think that being an athlete plays a big part. But even in the military, I have played for my squadron team, which is interesting because I was the only female out of the whole base playing for the cops. There was only one other female. She was in medical, but she didn't really show up like that. So a goal of mine is to play once I'm done with my time. But I kind of just wanted advice as far as how to jump back into that, whether it's overseas or anything like that, just because I don't want to say I'm taking a break, but I'm not actively in the gym every day because, of course, I'm working every day. So that was really just my question, just advice, because I'm 22, so I'm still young.
Anybody want to take that first?
Well, I can just say you never really too old for your dreams, even though this is sports and 22 is young. I would just say it goes back to, and especially if you want to play in the WNBA or if you want to go back to college, because I know you're in the service, you can always probably go back to college and play and develop your skills and hone your skills to come to the next level. And then as far as the WNBA, the thing I would say is if you could find that time where you can condition your body and continue to get into practice, and I will watch the WNBA because a lot of players come into the WNBA and this is what they do. They'll either go get an agent or they'll say this. Say your favorite team is the Sparks. And they'll say, okay, well, I want to go make the Sparks. Well, you got to really, to get on a team, it is a strategy. I'm not going to go get on a team that a team is fully loaded. It's loaded. And say if there are long-term contracts on a team, I'm going to really look and see and look at those players and know the product, like Meek was talking about earlier, Shaniqua. Know the product and see where you can have a greater opportunity to beat somebody out at. And be prepared, though. When you come prepared, it's sort of like what Tamika Dixon said when she thought she would take a day off and her dad said, well, Shamik was practicing. You got to find that moment to practice. You got to find that moment to get better. You got to find that moment to push yourself to where you don't want to go, because especially when you step up here, yeah, you have to be good, but your mind has to be strong. Because I'm going to tell you as a GM, the easiest part of my game was cutting players. It was the easiest. And people used to ask me, oh, that would be difficult. No, because I say it's three type of players. The one where you're going to have some players, they're going to quit once they see what type of work it takes. Here are my three players, I say. They're going to get in there and look and be like, oh, my God. And then they're going to be like, I can't do this every day. They're going to quit, right? So then there's the next player that's going to get there, and let's just say they about to get the golden ticket. They about to get the golden ticket, and it gets even tougher then. So what they do is they look around and count the numbers. They know only 11 or 12 could make the team, and they throw up the towel. They just throw it up thinking they can't make the team. And then there's that third player. It doesn't matter if they're high, a star or not. I always say this, the cream rises to the top. And that third player hangs in there. They compete every day, and they go beat a player out. And Meek, you know this. Remember when we had Brandy Davis? Do you remember? You were on that team? Y'all couldn't stand the ground she walked on. Couldn't stand the ground she walked on. This is a guard. She was really, really good. And I remember I had another player come ask me, because I played with Tamika before I was her GM. And this is a long story, but I had them come tell me. They said to me, another one of the players on the team that I had played with said, Penny, we're not going to keep her, are we? And I go, wow, that's interesting, because I know y'all don't like her. She knows y'all don't like her. But every day she comes in here and give y'all the business. And guess what? She's about to make the Los Angeles Sparks. And she made the team that year, didn't she, Meek? Because she came in. She didn't quit. She came in. When the numbers got down and it was sticky, she could have easily gave up. No, she came in every day and understood that she had to compete against Tamika Dixon, Mawadi Mabika, Yukari Figs. But I kept her because, for me, what courage and determination did that show? And I put her on the team. She made the team. She would have been a real good player in the league, but she hurt her back overseas. So I would say find your way to practice. I always say, and I'm sure being in the service and being a policeman, it's a lot, but we always find a way to do what we have to do. Even if that means after hours, you got to get that hour in, you got to get it in. And just stay determined, because where there's a will, there's a way.
There it is. Anybody else want to give the young lady some advice? Off of the panel?
Man, Penny
No.
said it all.
Penny made it hard. But I'm sure that you got some words.
Nobody likes this girl.
You got some words of encouragement in there, Meek.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you
There's
got it.
always one in the can.
Opportunity to go to the basic training, the different bases, and I speak to the cadets in basic training, and that's hard work. When I go to the bases, I'm like, y'all are real athletes, and the level of discipline that it takes. So thank you for your service, and you got this. You know what hard work is, because when I watch them, when I go and I watch them, the basic training, the workouts and stuff, and the yelling, I could not do that. I'm looking like, oh my God, the drill sergeant and stuff. So I guess if I had a hat on, it goes off to you, girl.
Thank you.
Absolutely. My other Meek that's in the house. We got two Meeks.
I would just piggyback on what the other said. Just continue to work hard. It's going to be something that you have to figure out, and like Penny said, find a time after your job to put some time into what you want to do. It's your dream. So you got to figure out some moments when you can get that time in to put that work in, and then just continue to just be committed to that. Start there, and then it'll grow from there. The commitment to turn into, okay, doors will continue to open up as far as long as you're committed to what you want to do.
Yes. And what better way to wrap this thing up is giving some advice to a young lady who's aspiring to be a basketball player. And you guys, I just can't say enough about this whole segment, and I got chills. I can't wait to sit down and look at it and try to figure out if it's going to have to be two parts. I'm just going to run that whole hour and 39 minutes that we've been on here talking, because we have been it's just been straight fire. And I hope that what we mentioned, and we're all in agreement that we're going to have Sunday brunch every Sunday. I might have to throw a mimosa or two in there, but I really do. I'm so happy, and I know that this is something that everyone is going to love, because each and every one of you have a testimony. Each and every one of you have something that you can teach somebody. Each one teach one, and I'm just so proud of each and every one of you. I can't say enough. I really can't. And when the idea came to my head to, of players that I would like to start this off with, there was no one better than you guys. And That's all I could say before I well up and start crying or something like that.
Well, thank you, Adrian. You know, this is my first podcast.
What? And it ain't gonna be the last, you know, because you got.
I know I had a lot of people mad now when they said, "What was I doing today?" I had people calling me and say, "Oh, I'm doing a podcast with Shamika and Meek and Tamika Dixon," and they go, "Oh, so you gonna do their podcast and not mine?" I go, "Well, she asked me." I go, "You guys don't never ask me." She asked me, and I go, "Hey, I'm available." Yeah, so thank you. It's been great,
awesome.
And I was excited with the cast. So
yeah, exactly. And when hang on a second, me. And when you were speaking, Penny, everybody, like, I'm looking at the panel across my phone, and everybody was just like, you had everybody, you know, and because your testimony is so different than everybody else's. We can all sit here and say that we played basketball and we all made the all-star team and we all did this and we all did that. But the one thing we can't say is that we were general managers for 20 years. And so that walk is different. And you have a lot to say and a lot that we can learn from you. So I'm really looking forward to it. So I'll give each and every person the opportunity to just say something to close this out, and then we're going to move to next Sunday, and I'll send the itinerary over the email.
I just want to say, you know, I feel like they raised your jersey too early, because, I mean, for scoring the first points in the WNBA, you should have, you know, that's trash compared to 20 years as GM.
But you know what, Vic? I'm happy I'm the first. I actually saw it on Jeopardy, and somebody said Lisa Leslie, and they go, no, it was Penny Toller.
Penny Toller scored the first point and the first free throw.
With that high-ass dribble.
Okay.
You know, they couldn't get it, though. They couldn't get it.
Yo, listen, then she want to call Tamika. She want to call Tamika Twinkle Toes, but I'm going to tell you something. You would have really.
No, because Meek would get that low dribble, and get that look, and Meek would get that low pity pat. She had that pity pat dribble and be gone, like Shamika say. She would start out and get real low with that pity pat, and Meek be gone. I used to play. And I didn't have the opportunity to watch Meek in college because we were overseas. But when I came back, I remember for something like, oh, I go, this girl can go. And I've always said that, Tippy Toe Dixon. and we call her Tippy Toe, just so y'all know, because her feet were hurting. So Tippy Toe Dixon.
All right, you guys. It's been a pleasure. Okay.
Same
I love
here.
you much. Till next Sunday.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Right.
Peace out.
Bye, you guys.
Sammy Sosa. Peace.
Bye, everybody.